Awesome. So welcome everyone to day 3 of the Conscious Parenting Taster Programme. We've thoroughly enjoyed spending this, what feels like a long time, more than 2 evenings in a very good way. The amount of richness and good stuff that we've been talking about together. So really, really delighted to see all of you are here tonight live, and hello to everybody who's on the recording. Today with day 3, we're using it as a let's bring some stuff together. Let's hear from you guys about what's on your minds, what would you like to hear more about or have some clarity with or ask questions about. And then we're going to do about half the time, so about half an hour on that, and then we'll have about half an hour talking about the main programme for those who want to hear that bit. So yeah, over to you, Pip. Let's hear what everyone would like to share.
Yeah, so we're just going to do this as a talking circle. As Helen said, we're going to maybe take half an hour to do this bit because we're aware that most of the time over the last 2 evenings has been taken up by us telling you about stuff or speaking. So yeah, we really wanted to use this this evening to hear from you. So we were going to suggest that we do that as a talking circle, which I'm sure most of you are used to, so that somebody will kick us off. Our question for the circle is pretty broad, so you can go really wherever you want with it. The question in the chat is, what is on your mind in relation to conscious parenting? And whether that's something that's come up last night, the night before, or something completely unrelated, something that's occurred to you recently, or something that's on your mind. Absolutely anything goes. So somebody will feel like they're ready to pop. They can kick us off and take the time that they need, and then when they've finished speaking, they can pass the invisible talking stick to the next person they want to hear from on the screen. And if that is you and you don't want to share this evening, that's totally cool as well. You can just say pass and you can just pick another name, and that way we'll give everybody the opportunity to share if that's what they want to do. So I'm just going to wait for the new joins to join us in the circle. So yeah, for those people who've just joined, we're about to have a little talking circle for the next half an hour. We're going to hear what people have got to say on the topic or on the question, which I've just put back in the chat. What is on your mind in relation to conscious parenting? So somebody will kick us off, and then we'll keep passing the baton until everyone who wanted to speak has had a chance to speak. So over to you guys.
I don't mind starting, Pip.
Thank you very much, Jean. That'll be great.
So what's on my mind? So really enjoyed the session last night, so much so I went and bought the book. So my weekend reading is Constellation book for John Whittington. And thinking of doing his he's got a 2-day course for barefooters actually, so I'm thinking of doing that because I'm intrigued by it and I want to know how I can use that in my coaching. So that's kind of a different thing to the conscious parenting. But I also want to think about, so then I caught up on your thing today, Helen, and all that keeps looping through my head is, but how do I get her to tidy her room? Then I kept coming to this thing of, well, actually, that's me just trying to control it. And I went through the whole thing and why down my layers. And because I feel calm and relaxed. It's more about I feel relaxed when the house is in order. Is where I got to on it. Amazing. So I guess they're the key things that have been going on. I struggle with Byron Katie's stuff and the way she questions. And I said to you before, Helen, that I've just listened to a podcast. I'm tempted to join some of her lives just to experience her work a little bit more, because the turnaround feels like it just feels awkward for me. So I probably have to work on that a little bit more. And especially in my parenting, because I've just come onto this call having my daughter finished school today, so I said, right, we're going home and we're sorting out your wardrobe and drawers. That's what I've been doing all evening, because it's important to me. She doesn't want to do it, and in fact she's sitting doing her nails while I'm doing it in her room, but I realise it's important to me, it's not important to her, and maybe therefore do I have to do it myself because it is important to me and not her. I don't know the answer to that, but I don't want to think I'm going around cleaning up after her the whole time, so I'm flip-flopping.
Lovely, thanks, Jane.
Yeah, and you're going to love to work with John Whittington. He trained in the same place as me, and yeah, I really rate his work. Yeah, that's lovely to hear that.
Yeah, it was only by chance that I realised he did a barefoot thing. I didn't know. It was just came up
Quite recent, I think. Yeah.
So am I handing the baton?
Yeah,
I've made a note of stuff, Jean, so that I think once everybody's spoken, then there might be some themes that we want to speak to from Pip and my perspective. But yeah, I've been capturing your thoughts. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to hand to Katie. Thank you.
Thanks, Jean.
Thank you. Yeah. I was mulling over today on the constellations thing. Like, I don't know, sometimes I think it's just a language thing. So I was mulling over whether what you call constellations I would call narratives. And when Fatima was talking yesterday, I was thinking like there's some narratives that I already previously recognized. Oh, those are not my narratives. Those are not my thoughts. I could see, like, around money, Helen, I was like, oh, that's actually not mine. That's my dad's. And then, so I'd already sort of recognized that some of what I call narratives are stuff that I've just absorbed from other people. So I don't know. It's kind of like, is that what you mean by constellations, really? And so what I was really wondering about today was, well, if I call them narratives, what about the narratives that I feel are like, not inherited from your family immediately, but from society, like from generations from society. So I was listening to a program on the radio earlier that was about Native Canadians and what Native Canadian women had been through, and I was like because what I was reflecting on, is there a narrative that I have going on which is kind of like men are like this and women are like this, and those are probably not mine, and those are probably not even my parents, and like how far back does it go? So like, are constellations more personal than that, was what I was wondering, or are constellations kind of like large, like global things? And so that led me to like, how far back can you go in generations? Because I feel there's a sort of a worry, like things that come from both of my parents separately, a worry thing from my mum, but I know her mother had an alcoholic father, so I can sort of see how fear and wanting to protect your children might have come from there. But like, you can't know, like, you don't know many of the stories in your family, so you don't really know what went on, how far back, and you don't know when and where someone was personally affected by something. So it was interesting, and it just got me thinking, and I didn't know if I was on the same line when I'm calling them narratives, which I mean is thought stories or thought beliefs that I can trace back to other people. And so, yes, from the perspective of not particularly wanting to pass them on to my children, but probably having already quite successfully passed some money ones on to my children without even kind of like, yeah, I don't know. I'd perhaps be interested on your thoughts about the wider kind of element of that. Or maybe that's just not useful. Perhaps it's just useful to look at your own personal stuff, but you know.
No, so from a constellation perspective, a few things that came up when you were speaking was that I think narratives is a really good way of explaining it. Sometimes constellations picks up on something that isn't necessarily maybe something we would describe as a narrative, because it might be more physically felt. Right. And there are constellators who specialize in that. So some constellators work with people's physical ailments and are interested if that is a echo of a trauma that was felt in somebody's past in a quite remarkable way, really. So something that somebody struggled with in a war situation could manifest itself in a twisted way in a modern ailment. And I've never gone down that route, but so it kind of is linked to narrative, but it's more
Right.
body sense than a story. But I do quite a lot of work with archetypal elements in constellations. So just this afternoon, actually, I was constellating with a woman who has experienced a lot of challenge in her life, and I asked, and she has struggled to ever remember any positive female influence that was ever in her life because she's experienced a lot of abuse. And so we brought in a representative to her constellation for the unknown, positive, loving, caring women in her ancestral line that she's never known. And so she could connect to them, because we know they will have existed. It's just she never was alive when they were alive. And we also brought in a representative for violence against women, and she could use the resource of one to allow the existence of the other. And they weren't, they were quite deliberately archetypal energies rather than people she would have ever known. So it can work on quite broad levels, if it's sometimes because it's the safer way to do it for the client as well. So yeah, it kind of can be micro and it can be macro, but yeah, I think your word of narratives is really, really useful.
It's fascinating. It's really interesting, and kind of that's helpful for you to sort of point to the physical, because I'm quite a heady person, so I would tend to think in terms of what's going on in my head, and so then sometimes I go down the route of, well, that's just a story made of thought. I don't even need to pay any attention to it anyway. So, but I can see if you've got a kind of felt sensation that, you know, like you just can't do something, that would be curious. But yeah, anyway, I will pass on to Jackie.
Oh, sorry, I wasn't on mute. I haven't had chance to watch the Tuesday. Is it Tuesday it started? Yeah. But I know it would have been absolutely great, and I will get around to it. Obviously, I've worked with you for a while, Helen, and I managed to do one of your constellations as well, which was really, really good. Yeah, what's on my mind? I think I've just finished working with Claire Diamond. I've been dragged through the hedge backwards and come out on the other side. And a lot of that was to do with sort of family and stuff, which has been really, really hard. But yeah, I think looking into how I have been parented and how I am parenting is so sort of still so rich for me at the moment. And I love the sort of medicine woman type, and my work is in dental health, so you know, health and flourishing is really important, and looking at sort of how you know, thing like my mum is not flourishing at the moment, and I think I've got this sort of you know, how my parent, how do I want to try and help my young people, you know, move through as well. And the constellations are, I think, going to be sort of, yeah, rich for looking back and finding what has, you know, what is going on, and just sort of shining more light onto stuff, I think, which will really help. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Beautiful, Jackie. Yeah, they absolutely do that. Now, I was having that conversation with somebody today, one of our group, the that's why I love the constellations and why they feel so aligned with the whole non-dual exploration, because the whole stance is love, the whole stance is seeing it, not forcing change, not making change, not pushing anything. It's just, yeah, the whole change happens because it wants to happen, not because anybody's trying to make it. It's that seeing it in love, as love. It's so, which is all that we're ever doing really in this exploration as well, from the stuff that I do. So yeah,
and that was so apparent last night, the love part. So
yeah,
yeah, thank you.
who'd you like to pass to, Jackie?
I will pass to Frank. And hello, Frank. I haven't seen you for so long.
Hello, Jackie. Nice to see you too.
Nice to
Yes. So I managed to get just a bit of yesterday's, enough to see the exercise with the constellation. But going back to Tuesday and kind of some of the things that came up for me when I was reflecting, because I have a specific situation which is very similar to what people are talking about, trying to get my daughter to clean up her room, despite the fact that she's actually 23.
I think we should do a whole course just on this, just on bedroom.
Well, it probably is kind of just a pointer to something, that whole idea of, why is this so important to me? And I'm trying to make it important to her. And why is it not important to her? That kind of thing. So I love the invitation for inner reflection to say, okay, what is this mirroring back for me, basically? It's kind of, and I think there was a question about probably linking, and I think one of the things that came out in one of the papers for constellation was parental duty. So there's a narrative about failure in parental duty if you've raised a child who can't see the value of cleaning their own room. Basically, that kind of is where I ended up. But one of the other questions that really struck me was this idea of joy. And okay, when's the last time that we were joyful together? Because what I'm now reflecting is, if every time we talk, it's about what's not right and what's not the way I believe it should be, actually, what kind of anchoring of emotions are attached to that? And how is that engaged and attached to our interactions? And how much does that actually affect kind of the ability to connect, when actually the association is, well, every time this person wants to talk to me is about something that's not right, about something that they don't. So it certainly has been a challenge to kind of go back and say, what, where is the joy in all of this? And clearly, we as human beings will seek joy. So, she finds joy more with her friends who are not going to ask her to clean her room. Then clearly it's no surprise that she doesn't have these issues with her friends. So there's kind of and there's the invitation as well for unconditional love was the other bit. This love doesn't feel unconditional. It feels like, I'm going to show you how much I love you once you've cleaned your room. That kind of thing. So it's like, how unconditional is that? And then there's that niggling. I think someone mentioned something similar, that niggling thing, like, but if I go that route, then will that mean I'm giving permission to this? Or so it's that, so it's an interesting one, but it certainly has given me a lot more latitude of how to go about this. And the sense I'm getting now is, actually, when I next engage with her, I have to find the joy in that interaction before we can talk about anything else. And that's kind of where I've landed with that. So it's been very helpful space to reflect on things like that, because intellectually, yes, of course I know that stuff, I'm a coach, but ultimately when it's something close to you and it's something that all of a sudden all that goes out the window. So it is good to be reminded.
Yeah, amazing, Frank. Wow, how much from a bedroom, like loads of reflections and insights. Yeah, probably.
You should call conscious parenting how to get your kid to sort their rooms out.
Yeah.
Or not, how to get your parents to sort their head out.
Yeah. Yeah, there's
Anyway, I rest my case.
Yeah, thank you,
I
Craig.
passed over to Ivana.
Was that to Ivana, did you say?
Ivana. Is it
Yeah,
Ivana? Is that how it's
yeah,
pronounced?
yeah,
Or have I
Ivana,
done
yeah.
that wrong?
Do you remember Ivana as well from the book group?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
That's probably why she got chosen, because I recognise.
Lovely, thank you. Well, it's funny you all sort of talk about kids studying rooms, and I mean, I'm sure it comes from me, but I feel like I am the kid as well that needs to be taught how to tidy my room too. So that's quite funny. Like, my room is not very tidy yet. So things that, yeah, I mean, I think they've sent few things here, like the parental duty, kind of sometimes like I'm going in and out of that panic. What's my duty? Then like, yeah, no, that's kind of, yeah, sort of stuff. Then the other thing is like healthy eating, you know, kind of insight into all those sort of things, and how do I manage encouragement of that and imitation of that without, you know, at times get a bit militant about that. And from one side, and then completely giving up, like, and then you know, the whole like joy thing, you know, there's a lot of all of these bits and pieces happening, and then, you know, where there's time and space for the joy. Another one thing's been big for us, education, as we are kind of for last 2.5 years with twins done home ed, and they're potentially going back to school now for secondary, and so it's kind of a lot of stuff around that, taking responsibility for your own life, surprisingly, no, or not. And then also like my relationship with my husband, the dad, you know, and a realization that kind of maybe that we're not aligned, or have, you know, we've innocently with that realizing kind of sabotaging each other. And kids are living in chaos, so they don't have clarity of joint. And I think more recently that came to forth a little bit, and some conversations happen around that, and definitely look kind of towards working something like that. But yeah, so yeah, lots. I mean, it goes on. I think like it's not just one thing, it just feels lots of different things. And I think, yeah, and I mean, I kind of see, and I had a pleasure of having a conversation with Helen both at PIC today. You know, I see that some of those things, you know, how they come about, and that the change maker in me want to make a change, not just but for my kids ultimately. And I don't know necessarily always how to do that in a light way, because I'm on a mission sort of thing, and my husband's a lot more light-hearted, so that we gravitate towards him. And so it's like, wow, I give up kind of thing lots of the time. So that's me. My dinner's coming, so I'll put myself on mute. Yep.
Thank you. Oh,
Look at it. This is an example of great
Lovely.
interaction parent and child.
Yeah, teach us how to get that trick done.
I'm not trained
How'd you do that?
I just don't do it. They get to do it.
amazing. Who would like to pass to Ivana before you eat your dinner? Who are you going to pass to, my love?
Suzanne?
Cool, thank you.
Hi. So my daughter is 21, and I have been alone with her since day one of the pregnancy. So I've had her, it's just been me and her the whole time. So yesterday when we did the thing on the floor, the constellations, when she's still living at home, she's working and everything's working and stuff. But when I got to the emergent future, when I stepped on there, I just felt a huge, like, really a lot of relief, and I just felt it was really nice. It was a super nice feeling that filled all of me, so that was really nice. And then my daughter, somebody said that they raised their daughter, like the way that my parents raised me and the ways I've raised my daughter is really different, and she has really turned into the girl that I wish that I had been when I was little. So I'm really proud of that, and I'm really pleased about that. And she's just really stable and such a good girl, and just herself. She's really herself, you know, confident and stuff. So yesterday when we were talking, and you were like, what are the problems with the kids? And I was like, there's no problem with her. The problem has always been with me, my anger, like the trigs, like the dishwasher that's not emptied, and, you know, just exploding like that, and all of the stuff that I wish, because I was a single parent, I had to do everything on full-time job, and, you know, her and stuff like that. So when we're talking about joy and stuff, I'm you know, it kind of makes me cry. But, you know, just like, I wish that I had, I'm sorry. I just wish that like my biggest is that I've been angry a lot, and I'm just worried, and we talk about it, so it's okay. But I just don't want her to remember like an angry mom, and she doesn't, and we're all good, and we've had it good, and I don't know why I'm crying. It's just touching, I guess. But when you were talking about the joy, Frank, you know, and we've always had a lot of joy, but yesterday the anger, it was my problem, not her problem. She's never had that, so it was good, and apparently it's touched me a lot.
Yeah, beautiful, Suzanne. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, she's such a good kid. Helen. Amazing.
Yeah. Sorry, I think I interrupted you there. You were handing to Helen. Awesome.
Hi. It was really amazing to kind of watch Fatima's breakthrough yesterday, and just kind of remember the power of constellating, really. And just how many sort of generational kind of patterns, you know, potentially I've been kind of repeating, although I have got better at sort of clocking that, really. And trying to go against the sort of habits that I've potentially formed. It made me think as well about some like rules for living that I have with the kids, which I don't see as bad, but then it just forced me to look, and, you know, as much as I don't find them, they're my rules for living. They're not there. Slightly imposing it them, but and the kind of healthy ancestor stuff really helps me, because I feel like in sort of my female lineage, there's definitely like repeated patterns over the past 3 or 4 generations, and sort of connecting with you know, an ancestor before then kind of that's definitely kind of helped. And also what came to me just when we were talking was about like inherited trauma, but that whole idea of the kind of mitochondrial DNA, and that through the female lineage, traumas can be, I guess the idea that you were the sort of ovum in your mother when she was in your grandmother type thing, and this kind of mitochondrial, I'm not explaining it very well. Anyway, there's some science there, but and I forgot my point already. What was I saying? That, and then sort of relating that to like specific instances in your family lineage, but also like what was kind of happening in the collective at that time anyway. And things like, I know lots of people are doing lots of work at the moment about the witch trials, and how like that's affect the like wounds of sisterhood that occurred because of that. But also, like, I guess, like, during that time, there might have been mothers who were against daughters, because it seemed like a time where women were forced against each other to save their own lives and stuff. And I don't know, I just find it really interesting, like how you really think that you're in control of this, but actually probably not. I feel like the bedroom thing isn't an issue for me, but that's just because my kids are quite young. So I've got limited expectations on their cleaning ability, but I can see how that's gonna definitely become an issue soon. So I'll look forward to that. I have spoken. I think it's yeah, Fatima, if you're off camera, but Fatima, yeah.
Hi, thank you, Ellen.
Okay.
Yeah, these 3 days have been really powerful for me. And I will always remember very, very fondly Pip and Constellation because it was really, really a discovery for me and a powerful one. So thank you so much for this new paradigm. And also thank you to Helen, because I'm a member of Claire Diamond's membership. And I absolutely love Claire Diamond's courses. But there was always, each time I finish a class with her, it's like, I'm still not getting it. I'm still not getting it. And on the first day, I was able to finally understand what Claire Diamond has been trying to explain to us through all the courses that she offers when I listen to Helen. Because she's always, I mean, Claire Diamond is always telling us that, I mean, anything you say, she brings it back to you. It's about you. It's not about the others. It's about, and I'm like, woman, I mean, I was even recently, I was thinking of exiting her course because she always has the same response. It's not about the others. It's about you. It's about you. And I finally got it. I was like, oh my God.
Amazing.
She's always talking about there is no them, and it's about us. And when Helen said, because I know that Helen, you were one of her students also, you really made me understand what she's trying to say. It's not about others, because there is no others. It's just about our own way of being. Are we aligned with our core being, or are we not in alignment? That's simple. And I'm like, wow, I've been with Claire for 1 year. Why this thing never came? And yesterday I just realized, okay, it did not come because you had to hear it from Helen. That's it. Yeah. So thank you very much for that, because I certainly did not come to this teaser to understand finally the message and the deep teaching that Claire Diamond is giving. And finally, I also understood something very, very powerfully, which is, we all came to this 3-day teaser to improve our parenting skills. But if you really get it, and I think I finally got it, it's not about our kids. It's about us. We should parent ourselves. And parenting ourselves is being the love, the supreme love that we are. And that when we forget that, remember, forgiving ourselves and remembering. My daughter is 23 years old, and she is vibrant, and it's always, I'm not going to do what you want me to do, Mom. It's the, and it's always fighting. And today I spoke to her, and she did not do what I wanted her to do, but it did not faze me. I was not upset, because I finally understood that it's about me being a good parent to myself, me being love, me being peace, me being joy inside of me. And whatever happened. So these 3 days have been powerful for me. You know, I almost don't think that taking the course will give me more, because it has been so powerful. So thank you so much.
Thank you
for
Fatima.
you know, Ellen, to you for finally making me understand Claire Diamond.
Perhaps I should have that on my tagline.
You know, because she is such a brainy person, and she makes it so complicated, and it's so simple. It's just, are you aligned with who you are, or aren't you? And when you are, you are. When you're not, you're not.
Yeah.
And Peep Constellation, I will always remember you, my constellation lady. So thank you very much. It has been very, very powerful for me. And I would advise or recommend anyone to take the course. But as I said to you, it's way above my budget. But I'm stepping out so full, because for me, these 3 days has been transformational. So thank you very much. And I pass it on to Hadisa.
Thank you. Thank you, Fatima.
Oh, thank you, Fatima. Yeah, I was there for the first day with Helen, and that was really, really it just, again, like Fatima was saying, back to me. So I think I had lost some compassion when I can't see why my 11-year-old can't see it from my point of view. And after we spoke, I noticed that when I'm about to get reactive, when I'm about to be judging or be, why is she rude? I actually just pause and look inwards. And it's been really, I still work in progress, but it's just so nice how you made us reflect that maybe it's us and not them. So, and sometimes when I can't see it, I ask myself, Hadiza, what do you need? So yeah, what do you need that's stopping you from seeing this and making it so personal, So I'm really grateful for that. I missed most of yesterday's, but just in time to catch the discussion between Pip and Fatima, and that was really, really good, because it made me start questioning my relationship and how I parent, and how my mom is very selfless. She never says no. And very, very sadly, she has Alzheimer's now, because she's given so much, and now she's a different person. And I always have that fear of not wanting to be like her, even though I like the positives, but I know she had no healthy boundaries. She was just too selfless. And listening to Fatima talk, I just thought, wow, how do I give back the things that I don't want to take on? Because I know that I also don't have very healthy boundaries. But I have one thing that probably my mom didn't have when she was my age. I have the awareness.
Yeah.
And I also have the mindset of saying I am enough.
Yeah.
Which I'm very thankful is just through attending things like this. Because I think before that, I'm always seeking, wanting validation, thinking that I'm not enough, and wanting to just people please. So the realization is there now, but I'm also very cognizant of the fact that I want to give back some things that I have, unconsciously collected. And I'm very, very curious to find out how I can do that, the how stage. But honestly, thank you so much. And I can't wait to hear the recordings again. Thank you.
Amazing. Thanks, Hadiza. Beautiful. What a lot of lovely shares. I think that's everybody who's shared. Do put your hand up if anybody hasn't. I'm looking through the list. I think that's everybody we've heard from.
That's everyone. Just two little things I just want to reference to make sure that anyone who's watching the video gets this information as well, because the book that was referenced was the John Whittingham book. And there's another book that I would highly recommend, which is by Judy Wilkins Smith, which is Decoding Your Emotional Blueprint. Really, you can get it on Audible. She also does really, really, really great clips on Instagram and YouTube. So she's making constellations highly accessible, and even, I think, often avoiding using the word constellations that doesn't necessarily mean anything to people, and talking about the actual benefit, which is the decoding of your emotional blueprint. So yeah, I really recommend John Whittington's work and Judy Wilkins Smith.
We can put those links in the email as well with the recording, so
thanks.
Easy access. Yeah, no worries. Anything, Pip, that you want to talk to that kind of in response to what people have shared, and anything to kind of wrap up what you're bringing, what you've brought, all of the juicy.
Just that it was obviously so self-indulgent but wonderful to hear how people took something out of the session, so that's really lovely, and yeah, is definitely why I do this work, because I know that it makes a difference. But a theme that came up for me, and I think it was a little bit about what Helen was talking about, a few people, maybe our interaction, Katie, about narratives. There was this thing yesterday when I spoke about the love being the unguarded inclusion of everything. And the work in constellations is to expand our capacity for love, acceptance, and understanding to every element of our system. And that is obviously a bit easier when we might have had great relationships and we can kind of call on the parts that we're loving and we can remember. But it really is the work to do that with the abusers and the absent and the challenging, but it's still the same work. And as we learn how to do that in us, we demonstrate to the future generations how to do that themselves. And I just really see that happening in the conversations and in the breakthroughs and the work that everyone's doing. And so that's what it's about, growing the capacity for love to even the difficult parts of our systems.
Beautiful.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. So to share on the back of that and bring us into the closing of this first part of today, I love what so many of you have shared there around that recognition of the invitation to check for ourselves first, look after ourselves first. I love that question, Hadiza, of what do I need right now? And Jean and Frank, how you were sharing of that, when we turn it and look and check our own thought ladders, domino effects, and go right to the heart of it, what we really want, those words that we find, like the calm and the relaxation. And somebody else I was chatting to who's been watching the recordings, who's wanting ease, and sometimes people have said they wanted freedom. All of these words, when you connect back to where we began on day one with tell me how it feels when you're being yourself, all of those words, I feel free, I feel easeful, I feel calm, I feel relaxed. So what you come to see is that everything we're doing in the world is in pursuit of those feelings. And you can test it out as many times as you like with different circumstances and different experiences, and checking in on those motivations behind what you're doing. And I would love to hear if there's any exceptions, but in my experience, every time we check, what was I really looking for? What was I really trying to find in that interaction? We are always looking for the feeling of ourself. And that for me is the only work really to be doing, because then that is that example that Fatima gave there of then we are that presence with the other just as they are, which could be saying tidy your room, and it could be saying don't worry about your room. It's so not about the, like Helen, you were saying about these rules for life. It's not about that. It's not about whether what we do or we don't do. It is about the who we know ourselves to be in that moment of speaking those words. How clear and aligned are we in ourselves? And the more we know that we are already the freedom, the ease, the calm, the relaxation that we're looking for, we don't gain those things from the world. They're revealed in the absence of all that entanglement and whirlpool experience. So I love that that's been a theme that's come through from today, because to me, that's it. That's the point of all of the work I do. That's what I hear in the work that Pip does. It's the whole point of the program, so that we are that, unconditionally inclusive, loving space for all the people around us in our kids' lives and growing experiences. So yes, been an amazing 3 days. Really loved hearing all of your thoughts and feedback. And I've no doubt that Pip and I will keep sharing stuff on little videos from this point onwards, as there's questions that have come through that we haven't spoken to tonight. There might be more that come along as we continue to share about the programme and what's available with that moving forward. So if you're not already, get subscribed to my YouTube channel so you can see when new stuff gets into that conscious parenting playlist, if you want to keep up to date, of course, with what's coming out. So I think that's probably us for this first part. Would you say Fip? Oh, that's a new one. Pip. By the way, my autocorrect is constantly autocorrecting you to Pop, which is my dad's my dad's name from the kids.
That's nothing else to add. Thanks, Helen.
Cool. So at this point, what we said at the beginning, if you know you're not up for the main program, if you really don't want to hear about it, then you are super welcome to leave at this point. And we have huge love and appreciation for you having been here and been part of this journey with us. So you go with love from our hearts, and from what we've heard, it sounds like you'll be leaving with love in your hearts too. And the point of this course was always to be open to those who just wanted these 3 days, as well as those who might want to stay and hear about the program. So if you want to leave right now, then you're so very welcome. And huge love and appreciation to you for having been here and been part of it. And if you would like to stay, whether you're interested, like it could be just a glimmer of a maybe I'm interested, because there's no obligation, clearly. If you stay, you're not tied into anything. So if you want to stay and hear about the program, then you're very welcome to do that too. And I'll probably just stop the recording before we start talking about that, as a little bit of a pause point in the recording. But so feel free to do what feels good to you right now. As we say, huge love and thanks for what we've done this week.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Suzanne. Lots of love.
Thanks, Suzanne.